Hello, welcome to No Judgment Zone, a show created by Slippery Rock University students for students. This series will be covering a variety of topics that will define, promote, and inform on diversity, equity, and inclusion, with 5 episodes airing at 5:30 p.m. from this Tuesday until the end of the semester. We will be covering topics such as intersectionality and allies, discrimination and microaggressions, as well as the resources and advancement of DEI here at Slippery Rock University. Today's episode is going to talk about what is DEI. Let's jump into our first segment with Josh to hear more.
Hello and welcome to On the Spot with Josh. My name is Joshua VanDemark, and today we're going to be asking students at Slippery Rock University about how they feel about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're asking students on campus, what does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to them for our first question?
There's obviously a difference between equality and equity because one is like you have all the resources to kind of be equal to your counterparts, as where with equity, it's like you're given the same exact opportunities, the same exact things to get you to where you need to be, if that makes sense. So I think in terms of what they mean to me is just kind of being set up with the same resources and the same care that other people in this type of environment might have.
It means that people from different backgrounds all have equal opportunities.
What it means to me is overall just being equal in a sense of I get the certain aspects that I need in order for me to be successful within this existence. So honestly, I feel as if people honestly get what they need and want within this life, I feel like everything would be perfectly fine. Not everything perfectly fine, but in order for you to be successful for your own path, I feel like that's what it means to me.
To me, those words mean including people in situations that they're interested in.
The second questions we're asking students today is how they see diversity at Slippery Rock.
Diversity at Slippery Rock, honestly, I'd say it's a predominantly white. When it comes to this institution, it's a PWI to me when I first come here. So I don't see as many people that look just like me, but it's like they're scarce. They're like pretty much everywhere. They're out there, but they're not really in depth and compact as much as I would go to a different type of school, which is it's okay. I wish there was more diversity in this school. I wish it showed more, but it's okay when it comes to people of color and people that are white, Latino, all that, etc. So it's all right.
I see diversity at Slippery Rock by the school welcoming students from around the world, such as the UK, Germany. We've also had a couple students from Ukraine and Jamaica and all those other places.
I see diversity at Slippery Rock through probably the many clubs is the biggest thing. There's a lot of great clubs at Slippery Rock that are for different cultures, different hobbies that are used to project different people's voices, and there's always a lot of great events going on where you can really learn about different people's experiences here.
For our third question today, we're asking the students how they see equity at Slippery Rock University.
I think equity is pretty fine at Slippery Rock. I feel like every student pretty much has the equal opportunity. I think there are good scholarship opportunities and different lessons. Like I said, they probably could implement a bit more activity and stuff, but I think equity overall is pretty fine at Slippery Rock.
At Slippery Rock, I'd say I think they really take a lot of pride in having equality and equity within all aspects of different things around campus, whether it be clubs, classes, public speakers, things like that. I just think Slippery Rock does a good job of capitalizing on equity and equality in general.
For our fourth question, we're talking about inclusion, and we're asking students how they see inclusion here at Slippery Rock University.
I think inclusion at Slippery Rock could definitely be a bit stronger. I don't know if it's just because of COVID or the past year, because I'm only a sophomore, but I've noticed that yes, they do try to host cultural events, but I do think that they could do a better job with implementing different things. Like this year, per se, we had the Ebony Ball, which is good, but I feel like they didn't promote it as much.
I think that inclusion's pretty good. There are a lot of clubs that include people with different hobbies and the different classes. I feel like people are represented pretty well with the professors.
It's kind of like hard, I can say. Well, I shouldn't say hard, challenging, because of the fact that it's not a lot of people I can connect with that look like me here. So it's like I try to like fit in as best ways I possibly can on a social level, you know, interact with people, get to know them for who they are and stuff like that. We have common camaraderie with each other, you know. It's more easier with a person that's the same color as me. I can just connect with them like this, you know. Even though we may have our differences or whatever the case it may be, they can relate to me on some type of level, either emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you know. So, but it's okay. I think it's all right.
And for our final question of the day, we're asking the students of Slippery Rock if there are any changes that need to happen relating to diversity, equity, inclusion.
There's no such thing as too much of a good thing. And with that, having more guest speakers coming in or just offering more, different kinds of classes. If someone wants to capitalize on an opportunity, I think they should have every right to do so. Just having the opportunities out there for students, I think, is probably a good thing.
So I definitely think different courses could probably be implemented a little better. I know most people have to take a civil discourse and ethics class, kind of just touching on more topics in depth, I think could be very beneficial for students, and kind of just trying to make it a little less awkward. I feel a lot of the time when you're a minority and you're speaking about certain issues, other people have different opinions than you might have. So maybe just teaching it in a different way than some professors do, but also just trying to get the campus more involved in different ethnic or cultural activities on campus.
I would like to see more students from around the world come to this school, and I would like to see improvements to diversity in our school.
Thank you for watching On the Spot with Josh. Stay tuned after the commercial break for a conversation about diversity, equity, inclusion with Amanda Riley.
Do you remember when you were told to sit still? Walk, don't run. Don't sit too close to the screen. Don't touch that. Color inside the lines. At Slippery Rock, we inspire the motion, the music, and the moments of challenge that allow you to be your best, now and in the future. Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference. Do you remember when you were told not to play with fire? You were told to be quiet. When they said caring wasn't in your generation's DNA. When they said stop playing with toys. Do you remember when they said stop dreaming? At Slippery Rock, we inspire the dreams, the noise, the caring to challenge you to be your best, now and in the future. Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference.
To join us at A Seat at the Table. This segment is where we get to hear the voices and opinions of Slippery Rock University students on the topics at hand. Today, I am joined with 3 SRU students who are eager to discuss what is DEI. Before we get started, would everyone please share your name, pronouns, and class?
Hi, I'm Mina, and I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm a junior.
Hey, I'm Antoine. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a senior.
I'm Jen. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior.
I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm a junior. So to start off, we want to hear what you think the terms diversity, equity, and inclusion means in your everyday life and what you feel the differences are.
Well, I'll start with the latter, inclusion. So I grew up in Pittsburgh in a predominantly black neighborhood. I went to a high school that was about 80% of the student body was black students, and mostly black teachers as well. So when I came to Slippery Rock, it was kind of a culture shock because the roles are kind of flipped. It's like 80% white, whereas I was at 80% black. So inclusion for me is important because when I walk into a room, I don't want to feel like I'm the only person there just because I'm the only black person there. You know, I want to feel like I'm welcome and I deserve to be here just as much as anyone. Anyone else.
Absolutely. So a little bit about me. I work for the Rocket, which is one of the student medias at SRU. And so when I think of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think of equal and diverse coverage in terms of journalism. So we focus a lot on having diverse coverage, so covering everything we can cover, and also giving equal coverage to all of those things. So I think the biggest difference is diversity is really like representation. That's what I think of. And then equity and inclusion kind of go hand in hand in my mind. So it's like equal coverage, like I said, like making sure everyone is represented.
Definitely. For me, I'm going into counseling, so I feel like with diversity especially, like I'm better equipped to talk to any type of person and feel like they're being heard and they're being, treated in the best way for them, if that makes sense. I just don't want, to go into a situation where I'm talking to someone and they have, if they're a black student and they have issues with, someone discriminating them, I can better help them with that.
Yeah. All right, so the next question is, what does diversity mean to you?
Diversity for me, I think Nina said this earlier, that it's representation really, because there's so many different kinds of people and you encounter them on a day-to-day basis. And when you run into these different kinds of people, you don't want to be shocked or surprised that they have different personality types or different formalities to them. For example, we have trans people, we have people with mental and physical disabilities, and they want to feel included just like we do, just like the average person. So diversity for me is like just representation all around.
I think going off of representation, I also think of accessibility. And so even on campus, I think the university has made steps to being more inclusive of people who, for example, like have hearing impairments or are blind, etc. So I think that is the biggest thing. A bunch of different areas of the university need to be more accessible to those people, regardless of their ability, I guess you could say.
Diversity is also an opportunity to learn. If you don't have, interactions with different kinds of people, or at least like having conversations with any type of person, then you're not going to learn from them and you're not going to feel comfortable talking to other people, so it's always, I feel like it's very important to be exposed to all kinds of people, just so that you can be better equipped to talk to more people.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I also feel like it's super important to get involved, and that's why that's so often preached in the university, and like to immerse yourself in diverse experiences and diverse people. And I think that's, at least for me, the biggest good thing that I've done is to get involved in a lot of things, to meet new people and also make those connections.
Definitely.
Like networking.
Yeah.
Can I also add something else? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think the younger you are, the more impressionable you are. It's really important that we're not excluding our kids from meeting different kinds of people as well. Not that I don't think any of us have children.
Yeah.
But exposing, young people to different kinds of people is really important to acknowledging and respecting people's diverse qualities.
Definitely.
I totally agree. All right, to move on to our next question, how do you view diversity at Slippery Rock University?
Well, we have two different sides of it. For me, there is the on-campus way to view diversity, and then there's the off-campus, the nightlife, the bar life, Greek life. They're completely separate from where there's different sectors off of campus for me. You have for me it was the Heights, where it was all the black people partied, and then you have Greek life, and then I'm not even sure what's outside of that because I'm actually completely outside of that realm as well. And then you have on campus where it's I feel like it's more inclusive in classrooms. I don't think I've ever felt like ostracized in the classroom, not here at least. So that's what diversity looks like to me.
To speak to what you were saying about how you feel like the Heights is where all the Black people party, I think that's a huge part to go to equity in terms of like where people are economically and like in terms of finances. Like the Heights are one of the, you know, less costly areas of living on campus versus like the Grove, where you might have a lot larger of a white population there.
Right.
So I think that's, you know, speaking to the outside of just on campus, that's a huge part of like equity and inclusion when it comes to finances.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think going off of the white population, I was going to say that in my mind, there are also two parts. It's kind of the diversity and representation in the population of the university, so predominantly white, and then also the like equality side of it, like the inclusion, how inclusive the university is, if that makes sense. So I think in both areas there's some like improvement to be made. I think maybe like outreach from like campus recruitment in terms of like diversifying the enrollment, and then also being more inclusive in terms of like even the university itself or like the clubs and organizations.
Yeah.
I definitely think like the university is making a lot of good improvements to move towards diversity and inclusion. I think there's obviously still more things to do. Obviously, because the community is like mostly white, you know, it's gonna happen. There's definitely still tokenization that I see a lot. I worked in res life, so I was able to meet a bunch of people and hear their sides of different stories. So I think that's one of the biggest improvements I would like to see at the university.
We're going to move on to our last question. So how do you think SRU's diversity efforts could be improved?
I think really it's like promotion of certain organizations on campus, because we have the Black Student Union who hosts the homecoming every year, to my knowledge. I think they still do. And then we have Rock Out, which is the LGBTQIA organization on campus. Actually, my roommate is the president of it, but I feel like it doesn't get promoted enough. And he has these events and he feels like people are not coming because they just don't know about it, and they're just like, but it's fun activities. They do like bingo and they're winning prizes, and like it's a lot of fun, but people just don't know and they don't care to reach out and find out what they don't know.
Right. I think one of the biggest faults, that's strong to use, of the university is like, whether it's intentional or not, I feel like they predominantly promote I keep using predominantly, but predominantly white events or organizations, and that may just be coincidence or not necessarily intentional, but I feel like to kind of add to what you said, that's definitely the area that they could improve on most, putting a bigger spotlight or promoting events or organizations that have that diversity to them.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's all kinds of different programs that are always going on that are really awesome conversations, like the diversity dialogues, and especially, you know, during Black History Month or during October, during Pride Month. There's all kinds of things going on. It's just not a lot of people go to, especially those like more serious conversations like the diversity dialogues, and I definitely think it would be helpful for them to be promoted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of it can start in the classrooms. I was a first seminar peer leader, and I always tried to promote diversity the best to my ability in class, so I feel like if we start there, it can continue throughout the years of the university. But thank you all for your willingness to share your opinions on what is DEI. Stay tuned after the commercial break for a one-on-one where we will hear an expert's opinion from Slippery Rock University's newest Chief Diversity Officer, Anthony Jones.
Do you remember when you were told to put away your toys? Don't climb on that. Don't write on the walls. Go easy on the makeup. Do you remember when you were told to mind your own business and wait your turn? At Slippery Rock, we inspire the heights, the color, the caring for each other to challenge you to be your best. Now and in the future, Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference. Do you remember when you were told not to play with fire? You were told to be quiet. When they said caring wasn't in your generation's DNA. When they said stop playing with toys. Do you remember when they said stop dreaming? At Slippery Rock, we inspire the dreams, the noise, the caring to challenge you to be your best. To sit still now and in the future. Walk Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference. Do you remember when you were told to sit still? Walk, don't run. Don't sit too close to the screen. Do you remember when you were told to put away your toys? Don't climb on that. Don't write on the walls. Go easy on the makeup. Do you remember when you were told to mind your own business and wait your turn? At Slippery Rock, we inspire the heights, the color, the caring for each other to challenge you to be your best. Now and in the future, Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference.
Welcome to One-on-One. Today we have Dr. Anthony Jones with us. Dr. Jones is the newly appointed Chief Diversity Officer here at SRU. He was previously the chair of Teal College Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Board. As well, Dr. Jones holds a bachelor's degree in art, a master's degree in student personnel, and a doctoral degree in education leadership and policy studies. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Jones.
It is a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Well, we'll jump right into it then.
All right.
So why did you choose Slippery Rock?
Really, it was an easy choice. So I will say it started with my intern. So I was at Teal College. My intern actually was a graduate assistant here at Slippery Rock, which I don't think many people knew. So she spoke highly about the institution. So I heard the position had posted, but I wasn't really interested in the transition at that point. I actually got a call from a search firm, and they talked me into it. And going back to the conversations I had with my intern, I gave it a shot. And when I viewed campus, that's when I really knew this was a place that I can see myself at. I think most people would say this is a beautiful campus. And I can say I'd never been to campus prior to my campus interview. Got to have some conversation with some of the individuals on the search committee. It was a great conversations, great interactions, great vision on things that they wanted to do. And I just really saw myself being a part of that. And then the president really helped drive home the whole idea of becoming the first Chief Diversity Officer at Slippery Rock University. So,
yeah, that's awesome. We're amped that you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad that you're amped.
Good. So you've been here at SRU for almost 4 months now.
Roughly, yeah.
And have spoken to many students, faculty, organizations here. Since then, have you figured out some of your goals or incentives for Slippery Rock?
Yeah, so I would say one thing I always say when I refer to the individuals that I've met thus far, Slippery Rock has passionate individuals. So I always say everybody isn't passionate about the same thing, but whatever that thing is, they are very passionate about it. So I'm really just trying to see how I can harness that passion and not have individuals not feel like they have a space to be able to put that passion, right? So some of the things that we're focusing on, first and foremost, is finishing up our diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion strategic action plan, which was in a draft state before I got here. So really trying to look to finish that up rolling into next semester. And that will really guide us throughout some of the initiatives that we'll be looking to accomplish. So I don't want to get into the details of that because we're fine tuning at this point. So I don't want to say something that didn't make it or something along those lines, but very excited to get that done with the committee and again with a lot of passionate individuals that look forward to doing the work. So.
Right, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So the Chief Diversity Officer is a new position.
Yes.
You're the first one ever.
Excited too.
So why do you think now is the time?
I think this is where my career has led me. I've been working in diversity, equity, and inclusion my entire career. And just to give a quick backstory, so this whole process started with me when I had interactions with the Director of Multicultural Student Affairs at Mount Union College my freshman year in college. So to be honest, I was skipping class one day and I ran into the director, and she kind of laid into me a little bit about what I need to be doing and so forth. So she told me to come to her office the next day, and I did, and we had a great conversation. I went to her office again, and I found myself in her office every day until the semester ended. So I was really excited about coming back to college the next year, which I really didn't want to be in college in the first place before meeting her. And I was excited about that process. And it was my junior year that I realized that I wanted to do what she did. And I didn't even know that that was a job prior to that. So that's when I started to pursue. So every job that I've taken since then, or since starting my professional career, was leading me up to this point. Ultimately, I want to make change, and I know I can do that in a position like this when you have some input on a policy level.
Right, that's awesome. So when trying to educate students on DEI, we've seen two ends of very different spectrums.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, it's people who want to participate and who want to know more about DEI and be in the discussion. And another who wants nothing to do with it, or they feel like people are shoving DEI down their throats, so they're just tired of it. What's your plan to educate the students who want nothing to do with DEI?
So my approach to diversity training is to start internally. So I don't try to force it on you. I just try to help you reflect through experiences that you've had. So what I've found through that process is those who are on that far end of the spectrum find a middle ground with those type of conversations. So it's not pressure for you to learn, it's just pressure for you to reflect. I won't even say pressure, it's just the opportunity for you to reflect. So when I talk about bias, let's just talk about some of the experiences that you've had as an individual, where you can use your own experiences to be your education, as opposed to feeling like you're being forced to learn something you didn't want to learn. So I pull a lot of that from my counseling background, and we really just do some self-exploration and live and learn and grow together. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That wraps up our one-on-one session for today. Thank you for coming and speaking with me today, Dr. Jones. Stay tuned for Ursula after the commercial break.
I definitely wanted to do that.
Do you remember when you were told not to play with fire? You were told to be quiet. When they said caring wasn't in your generation's DNA. When they said stop playing with toys. Do you remember when they said stop dreaming? At Slippery Rock, we inspire the dreams, the noise, the caring to challenge you to be your best. Now and in the future, Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference. Do you remember when you were told to put away your toys? Don't climb on that. Don't write on the walls. Go easy on the makeup. Do you remember when you were told to mind your own business and wait your turn? At Slippery Rock, we inspire the heights, the color, the caring for each other to challenge you to be your best. Now and in the future, Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference.
Thank you for tuning in to this first episode of No Judgment Zone. Please make sure to tune in again next Tuesday, April 5th, for our second episode, where we'll be discussing intersectionality, allies, and more. Take care.